Hello everyone, I am Dr. Temilola Apino. I am your facilitator for EDU714 History of Education in Nigeria. In this course, we'll be discussing Introduction to History of Education in Nigeria, Advent of Western Education in Nigeria, Islamic Education, the coming of the missionaries to Nigeria, their impact. We'll talk about colonial government involvement in Nigerian education. We'll talk about 1887 and 1916 ordinances. We'll talk about impact of PEPSO Commission on education in Nigeria. We'll also talk about regionalization of education. We'll talk about current status of education in the northern part of Nigeria and some other things. I wish you a successful session. Thank you. Hello everyone. Our topic today is the early missionaries and the development of education in Nigeria. In this topic, we are going to discuss the first Christian missionary attempt in Nigeria. We are going to discuss the reasons for the penetration into Nigeria in the 19th century. We will discuss their activities. We will also discuss early mission schools in Nigeria. We will discuss the aim of the schools. We will also discuss the problems of the early mission schools in Nigeria. We will discuss the contributions of the early missions to education in Nigeria. Do join me and have a wonderful session. Thank you. Hello. This is History of Education. I am Dr. Temilola Apeno from the Department of Educational Foundations, Faculty of Education, National Open University of Nigeria. The intended learning outcome for this course is that at the end of this discussion, you should be able to state reasons why Europeans visited Nigeria in the 1840s, examine the activities of the early missionaries in Nigeria, state the aim, content, and control of the early mission schools, mention the problems of early mission schools in Nigeria, and list out the contributions of the early missionaries to Nigeria. Christian missionary activities in Nigeria. The Portuguese merchants visited Nigeria as early as 1472. Their visit was basically for business. By 1485, they had started trading activities with Benin people. By 1515, the Portuguese had started a primary school in Oba's Palace. It was basically for Oba's wives and the children. The Christian missionary activities extended to some parts of Cross River and Delta State. The motive that time was effective engagement of Africans in commerce, not any other thing. It is purely for business. Technically, the condition for the engagement was basic rudiment of education and acceptance of Christianity. The main purpose was evangelism, business and evangelism. So the condition was education and acceptance of Christian religion. Reason for 19th century European penetration. The first reason was Industrial Revolution through exploration. Like I mentioned, the visit of the Portuguese was mainly for trading. Number two, anti-transatlantic trade was initiated that time. It was another reason why they came. The activities of the early missionaries in Nigeria. Different groups were formed as a result of abolition of slave trade. The groups are Baptist Missionary Movement, that was formed in 1792. London Missionary Society was formed in 1795. Church Missionary Society was formed in 1790. Missionary activities continues. On the 24th September 1842, the Wesleyan Methodist Society sent a representative in person of Reverend Thomas Bart Freeman to Badagry. In 1847, Reverend Samuel Ajayi Crowther, Reverend C.A. Goma, and Mr. Henry Townsend, all from Church Missionary, arrived Badagry. What was the purpose of their visit? It was mainly for evangelism. The Presbyterian Mission also arrived at Calabar and established a station there in 1846 for the same purpose. The Southern Baptist Convention opened a school at Ijaye in 1853 and another one in Lagos in 1955. Various missionary bodies. Various missionary bodies made impact in Nigeria between 1842 and 1964. Bodies like Wesleyan Methodist Society, Church Missionary Society, Baptist Mission, Roman Catholic Mission, Presbyterian Church of Scotland, Primitive Methodist Society, and Kwaibe Mission. Early mission schools in Nigeria. Schools were established inside church premises. Don't forget, the aim of the coming of the missionaries was basically for evangelism. So they open school, they use school as a bait to attract people. So schools were opened and churches were running and schools were established inside these churches. So as you learn, you are converted. Europeans used education as a means of converting Nigerians into their various denominations. When you fall into the hands of Methodist people, you are converted and become a member of Methodist. If it's another mission, you are converted and become a member of that denomination. Missions confine themselves within the area of literacy, religion, and moral education. They did not go beyond this because the reason for educating people was just to convert them and get junior labor worker from among them, or assistants in the missionary work. People who will assist them in missionary work, like a catechist, like a clerk. Those are the people they needed. Aims of mission schools. The aim was to train indigenous manpower to carry out evangelical work in communities, people who will assist them to carry out evangelical work. The another aim, apart from carrying out evangelical work, was training of lower manpower to serve as interpreters, clerks and cleaners for missionaries and their British businessmen. The content of mission schools was Christian religious knowledge, arithmetic, reading and writing. It is those subjects that will be needed to achieve their goal of evangelism that was offered that time. The main reference was the Holy Bible. It was the focus point. No separation between the church and the school, because the school was helping the church. Church agents and their wives double play as teachers, so there were no qualified teachers. Problems of early mission schools: lack of uniformity in rule and curriculum. Each denomination in their schools have their own rule and curriculum different from the other. Lack of qualified teachers. Don't forget, there were no qualified teachers. It was the catechists and their wives, members of churches that were teachers. Absenteeism was the order of the day on the part of both teachers and pupils. They go to school when they like because they have to farm. So they spend some time on farm, they spend some time in school. Religion was the main focus. Education was just a bit. Religious evangelism was the main reason for the coming of the early missionaries. There was shortage of funds because the missionaries rely on money realized from church. Money realized from church service. That was all that they relied on. So they did not have enough funds. Method of teaching was rote learning. You learn by memorizing. No other method, because the teachers were not qualified in the first place, so they did not know any other method of teaching than rote learning. No interest or commitment to secondary and vocational education on the part of the early missionaries. The main reason was fund. They did not have fund to pursue this. And apart from fund, they did not want anything that will encourage critical thinking in the mind of Africans. They wanted them to continue to be subjective to them. There was gap between the education of the North and that of the South. It was really an issue, and the reason being that ever before the coming of the Europeans, the East African people had already been in the northern part of Nigeria. They had taken Islam there, and it was already it had already gained ground. People had focused on Islam. They had focused on Islamic religion. So to now accept, they became very resistant to Christian Christianity. And so apart from that, it was a bit difficult for the Europeans, for the early missionaries to stay on that in that region. Some contributions of the early missionaries: they introduced and laid foundation for education in Nigeria. Quite alright, their focus was evangelism. They just use education as a bait, but they were the people who laid the foundation for Western education. They introduced us to Western education. They introduced and chose lingua franca for the nation. It was the Europeans that chose their own language for us. Maybe because Nigeria is a multilingual country, So English language was chosen as a lingua franca. They produced the first written words in local language. It was the help of Samuel Ajayi Crowther. Through the help of Samuel Ajayi Crowther, that the Bible was interpreted to local languages. They eradicated slave trade and other vices in Africa. The early missionaries eradicated slave trade. It was after the eradication of slave trade that the Western education was introduced. So they also introduced Christianity to Africa and to Nigeria in particular. Class activity. Take few minutes to study the class activity. Thank you. Hi, we have come to the end of today's lesson. In this lesson, we have discussed the first Christian missionary attempt in Nigeria. We have discussed the reasons for European penetration into Nigeria in the 19th century. We have also discussed the activities of the early missionaries in Nigeria. We discussed the early mission schools in Nigeria, the aims of mission schools, the problems of early mission schools, and the contributions of the early mission to Nigerian education. Thank you.